Welcome back, everyone. Excited to be with you for another daily Zohar. And as I posted in the chat, we are 93% complete with the portion of Vayeshev, which is so exciting. And I think this has been, I don't want to say my favorite portion we've studied so far, but I think it's up there. It's been really, really powerful, inspiring, beautiful, um, somewhat understandable section of the Zohar, which is really nice. And I'm excited for Miketz that we're starting on Monday. So it's amazing that we get to complete another section of the Zohar, another portion, and begin another one. And as we know, whoever joins for the final study, it's like they've joined the last 40 whatever studies. They get all the energy of all the past sections. So if you know anyone who you want to invite to join on Friday to receive all the light of the portion of Vayeshev, let them know about our study on Friday. It's a great opportunity to almost like a cheat code to just get all the energy without joining for any of them. But obviously, it's not the same, but you get the energy. So that's exciting. Let's begin our study. But as always, by setting our intention, our consciousness, that's the most important thing. If we have our consciousness in the right place, then everything else that follows will be as it should be. So our intention through studying the Zohar, we know that these letters, these words, while they have messages and teachings and understandings, they're really just vessels for the Creator's infinite light. It's not even about what we study, it's not even about what we read, not even about what we talk about. They are more just a means to connect to the Creator's infinite light, to connect to the infinite light of our soul, to connect to the tree of life reality, to plug into that state. So we're meditating that through these words, we are overcoming everything that separates us from our soul, anything that allows for any negativity or reactivity to be expressed from within each and every one of us, and instead reveal endless love, infinite love that exists within us. And this light today being especially connected to just the righteous, being the 13th day of the Omer, it's Yesod of Gvura. So we're meditating with that light that shines to purify us with the light of the Zohar in an intensified way. With deep appreciation for this great merit we have, and as we come closer to Lag BaOmer, it's even more exciting as we come to the day of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We're grateful to live in such a time, um, you know, that that we get to study the Zohar, that the light of the Zohar is accessible spiritually for us, thanks to all the revelations of Rav Ashlag and all the work of our teachers before us. So with deep appreciation, we begin the prayer of the Ari to open up our hearts to prepare us for this study. And today we'll actually speak about, as we did a bit yesterday, but we'll speak about the purity, the purity of our heart, the openness of our heart that we want to receive. Here we go. ריבון העולמים ואדוני האדונים אב הרחמים והסליחות מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו כי דע ושתחוויה שקרבתנו לתורתך ולעבודתך עבודת הקודש ונתת לנו חלק בסודות תורתך הקדושה. ואנו מחיינו שעשית עמנו חסד גדול כזה כן אנחנו מפלים תחנונינו לפניך שתמחו ותסלח לכל חטאותינו ועוונותינו ואל יהיו עוונותינו מבדילים ממנו לבניך. וכן ירצה לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו שתכונן את לבבינו ליראתך ולאהבתך ותקשיב אוזניך לדברים האלה ותפתח לבבינו הערה בסודות תורתך. Right, one of my favorite things about this prayer is that we're inviting the Creator to come and reprogram us. We're inviting the Creator to come in and help us change. We're often so stuck in our own ways, and the truth is, it's only through the Creator that we change. This is a direct invitation by the Creator saying, "Help me open my heart in this way. Help me change in this way. Help me connect in this way." ויהיה למדינו זה נחת רוח לפניך, זכר ולך כרך ניחוח, ותאציל עלינו עומק כל נשמתנו, וכל בחינתנו, ושיתנצצו ניצוצות לבדיך הקדושים, אשר עידם גדית לדבריך בעולם, וזכותם וזכות אבותם וזכות אבותם ותמיד ראשונם, יעמוד לנו לבן הקשר בלי דבר מד ובזכותם תערננו, ומה שאנו לומדים כמאמן נעים זה מהירות, ישראל גל עיניו וביטן נפלא מתורתך, כי אדוני ייתן חוכמה, מפיו דעת ותבונה. יהיו לשונאים מפיו והגנים לפניך, אדוני צור וגואלי. Paragraph 267. We've explained about the dream of the wine steward, the butler, that Joseph interpreted, and the Zohar explained that there is a difference between what the Zohar calls the white grapes and the black grapes. The white grapes represent mercy. He saw in his dream vines with grapes. The white grapes, light green grapes, represent mercy. Black grapes, or purple or dark red, whatever, represent judgment. And now the Zohar goes into the concept of the grapes of negativity, of judgment, those that need to be sweetened by the mercy of Binah. Come and see. Adam Arishon, the first man, Adam, intete sachata le invin. The Midrash and the Zohar here explains that what happened at the tree of knowledge, as we mentioned yesterday, was not, as most people think, not an olive, an apple, but actually, the Zohar explains it was grapes, and it was that Eve squeezed the grapes for Adam to drink from. Ugremat lemota, and it brought death upon him, ulechol Yisrael, and all of the Israelites, ulechol alma, and the entire world. That act of Adam and Eve connecting to the tree of knowledge. Here the Zohar says through grapes, and one of the things the Zohar specifies here that they were squeezed. The grapes were squeezed. It wasn't that they just popped the grape into their mouth. They squeezed the grapes, and the juice that came out, the grape juice of the wine, it represents as we said yesterday, that when you squeeze the grapes, it's a great revelation of light from the left column, and it gives access to the klipot. It gives access to the negative side to attach. Possibly, I'm assuming, I guess, if they just ate the grapes, it wouldn't have given the same access, but because they squeezed the grapes as they came out of the grapes, they were no longer insulated within the grapes, and the negative side got a hold of it. And we said that what does it mean that they squeeze the grapes? What does the whole fall of the tree of knowledge mean? As the Zohar reveals, and Rav Shimon reminds us many times, it's what's called the revelation of above to below. It means when you take the Creator's infinite light and use it selfishly. And this is the tikkun that we all continue to work on today. Every day we have opportunities. We are given the Creator's infinite light, and our work is to use that light to share, to use that light to reveal more light. The Creator gives us blessings. The Creator gives us life. The Creator gives us a mind and ideas and wealth and time and desire, not to fulfill our own selfish ego-based needs, but to bring light to others, to help others. When Adam and Eve squeezed the grapes, which means they awakened this great light and became exposed to negativity, and they used it in a selfish way, then that's what it represents, taking infinite light and taking it to the klipot. And that's what caused all of the tikkun that we have today. And that's why everything is always the same. It's always, right? And by the way, it's not that the squeezing of the grapes and the drinking of, the juice from it or the wine was a bad thing. There's no such thing as a bad thing, the Zohar says. There's a good thing at a wrong time. Right? We can't go obviously too much more into the whole fall of the tree of knowledge, but they were supposed to connect to those grapes from the tree of knowledge, but a few hours later. Right? They were supposed to make that connection, but not yet. So that's the same thing. Our restriction, we're always going to be tested in that way. We're always going to be tested with something that the energy that we should be receiving but in the right way where it reveals more light, that there is a process of restriction. Then 10 generations later, Noach ata lahane invin. It says that Noah also had these same grapes, now probably not the same exact grapes, but the same experience of this great revelation of light, especially from the left side, that he had that instead got taken over by the klipot. They were light from above to below. That was not through restriction. He didn't protect himself as he should have, and we learned about this back in the portion of Noach. Rav Ashlag references paragraph 308, if you want to go study that section again. Maktiv, what does it say? It says that after Noah came out of the ark, he planted a vineyard. He drank the wine and he became drunk, and he uncovered himself within his tent. And then there was a whole issue with his son that happened afterwards. So the Zohar explains back in the portion of Noach that Noah was trying to correct the fall of Adam and Eve with the tree of knowledge. He was trying to take that left column energy and balance it. But he underestimated its power, and it instead took control over him. And instead, as it says, he got drunk, and he was revealed within his tent. But it says behe. It says that he was revealed within his tent, and his tent is spelled with a hey instead of a vav. Aholo should be with a vav. That's how typically it should be written. But instead, it's written with the letter hey. The letter hey represents, as the Rav Ashlag explains back in paragraph 308 in the portion of Noach, it represents the revelation of the female klipot, the feminine aspect of the klipot. So while he tried to transform the energy, instead he interacted with the wrong way. He interacted with it the wrong way. He revealed great negativity that took a hold of him. Bnei Aaron, the children of Aaron, as actually we read in this last portion in Shemini, they also drank wine. And under the effect, intoxicated by, under the influence of that wine, as we're saying, it's the revelation of the extreme left column, imbalanced left column. They brought a sacrifice within the temple on the day of the inauguration of the temple. We're speaking about Nadav and Avihu, Aaron, the high priest's oldest two sons. They brought a sacrifice on the first of Nisan, Umitu, and they died. The fire came down and consumed them. And these souls, not a coincidence, the Zohar is bringing down this section here, because also these souls eventually became Elijah the prophet. They were very elevated souls. They were trying to deal with the last 32 Lev Ha'evan, the last 32 sparks of the 320. But it wasn't time yet, and they didn't come. They didn't do it the right way, and they were like Noah and like Adam. They were dealing with the direct light that took control over them. It was extreme left column that was imbalanced, and that it didn't work out the way they thought it did. And we've learned all this. And therefore it says, when speaking about the effects or the left column effect of this type of wine. It says in Deuteronomy, the grapes for them are poison, a bitter growth. They're clusters, right? When it's the left column that is extreme and not balanced, representing the klipot and the negativity and the selfish nature of the left column. That's here what we're speaking about, relating to the dream of the cupbearer, or the possibility of that dream. This is what Joseph thought it was. Begin to inun invin gal mehai. Because the grapes, which represent the extreme left column, caused all of this. The grapes, the control of the left column of the negativity, the desire to receive the self alone, caused the fall of Adam, caused the fall of Noah, caused the fall of Nadav and Avihu, Aaron's two sons. It's the same thing that causes the fall in every single one of us. Extreme left column, the imbalance of our desire to receive for the self alone. Paragraph 268. So when Joseph saw, when the cupbearer, the butler, saw grapes in his dream, dinun tavin. he saw good grapes. So when I originally made this, I made this with dark grapes, but really it should be with light grapes. These are the grapes that he saw, maybe even lighter. So he saw the white grapes, the good grapes, which represent the grapes of mercy. The They represent the light of mercy, the sweetened judgments of Malchut by Binah that became mercy. Bahu Kerem, and the vineyard, and the vineyard that he saw, or in the vineyard he was in Deka Salkin Naicha Verecha Bedargin Shelemin Kitkayot. That in that vineyard, that's where they ascended and they gave a pleasantness and fragrance to the higher levels in completeness as they should perfectly. Here Rav Asher explains what are grapes. In this case, when it's a positive aspect of the grapes, when it's the light grapes, the white grapes, the grapes represent the levels of the nukva of the malchut. The vineyard itself represents the essence, the entirety of the nukva of the malchut. So when they are sweetened by bina, then the grapes within the vineyard are white, and that's why there was the revelation, the ascension of the pleasantness and fragrance. So the Butler saw he was connected to the positive aspect of the left column, the balanced aspect of the left column. For example, we do kiddush on red wine because we're supposed to. Red wine represents the drawing down of the left column, but we always put a drop of water to balance it. Some people say that you should use white wine for kiddush, but the kabbalists explain that actually white wine is great, but specifically red wine, you need that intensity, but you want to balance it. That's why we use a silver cup. Silver is also the energy of chesed. The cup represents the energy of judgment. So we use all the different things in meditations to balance out the energy to have the greatest effect of drawing down, but it's all contained. It's all balanced. Valda, therefore, Yosef Yadamila, Joseph knew when he heard the dream, he knew that the essence of what was going on. Istaka bikara, he took a look at the root, the essence of the matter. Uvshar chelma al buye, and he interpreted the dream thoroughly. Begin basar bahu chelma tidkayot. Because that dream was a good message. It was good news. He received good tidings through that dream. And therefore, since he knew it was a revelation of positivity, he interpreted that dream positively. And that's how it came to be. That's how it manifested. Because as we said, the dream goes after the interpreter. 269. Maktiv, what does it say? Now, after the bread baker, the chief bread baker, heard how positive. So after, okay. So the wine steward tells his dream. So Joseph tells him he first understands the first part of the dream has to do with him and how he's going to become king. The second part of the dream has to do with the butler and how he's going to be free, and Pharaoh will find him innocent. And he's going to go back to his position. So now the baker says, "Oh my gosh, that's an amazing dream. This guy, Joseph, he's interpreting great dreams, and I can't wait for him to interpret my dream, and I'll also be free." So the chief baker, he saw that Joseph interpreted the dream favorably to his friend. So he said, "Hey, in my dream, I also had 3 baskets on my head." Right? When the wine steward said that there were 3 vines, and he told the whole story, Pharaoh's wine, everything was good. So he assumed that also it would be good for him. Right? The 3 baskets and the birds eating the baskets on top. Tachaze, come and see. Alim inun rashiaya. Cursed are the wicked. Kulu levish. Everything they do is negative. And all the words they speak, everything they say, kulu levish is all negative. Ulavasha, and to cause harm, cause evil. Zohar sounds a little harsh here, but we know that these two guys were not very positive, and we'll see that the consciousness of the baker was actually in a negative place and therefore manifested in a negative way. Paragraph 270. When he began his description of his dream, he begins with the word af. Af ani b'chalami. Even I in my dream. But the word af in Hebrew, it means anger. He began with negativity, with anger. He began connected to the negative side. Miyad dachir Yosef. Immediately when Joseph heard this, he was afraid. He knew all of his words, everything he was going to say were connected to negativity, that his consciousness was connected to that negativity. And there was going to be a negative um, tiding in his speech, in his words, through his speech, through his dream. And he says, he says, I see three baskets, weave baskets on my head. Yosef. Then Joseph immediately knew. He saw the revelation of three negative things because he started in a negative way. He knew that, right? When we said last time in the dream of the butler, when he said there were three, he said wine. He saw there was vines, grapes, but because he said there were three, then Joseph knew it was positive because it had the right column, left column, central column. He knew the entire revelation was positive. Here, when the baker says there were three, because he began with a negative state, because he was in a negative consciousness, he knew the dream that he received was negative, and he knew immediately there were three negative things. The three baskets connect to three negative things. The destruction of the temple, and the Israelites in exile, and the Israelites would be exiled from the land of Israel. I'm actually not sure if it's three things related to the three baskets. I might have invented that, so don't take that as the words of the Zohar. That's just how I connected to it because the Zohar listed three things, but it sounds very similar. So if it's not those three things, then just consider it as he's seeing negative things, not necessarily three connected to three baskets. 271. Chamim Aktiv. He saw what it says. So he sees, when he sees the three baskets on his head, the man continues to explain to the baker, and on the top basket, there's all the different bread of Pharaoh, all the different types of bread, and the birds are eating them from the tall basket, the top basket that's on my head. So the birds are eating from the baskets. When Joseph heard that, he knew it means Iden Inun Sha'amin. These represent the other nations. Israel, that they gather upon Israel. Vekatlilon, and they murder them. Vechavi Beitayu, and they destroy their homes. Fazre lon le'alba sitre alma, and they scatter them across the four corners of the world. And these also represent, it's not just in a literal sense of Israel, the Israelites and stuff, it also represents the forces of destruction that attack the forces of construction in the world. Yosef, and Joseph looked at all of this, and he understood that his whole dream was about Israel, those who are supposed to reveal the light in the world, in a time when they are guilty before their king, in the time when their consciousness is not in the right place. Right? The only reason why there's destruction, the only reason why, as the Zohar many times speaks about this, why other nations and other forces have control over Israel, have control over the people of construction, of consciousness, of restriction, is when we are not living up to our name, is when we are not living up to our job. Our job is to bring light to the world. If we do not bring enough light to the world, then others are going to come and try and take it from us. Miyad pasha le pisha levish, and therefore he interpreted the dream in a negative way, vid kayambe, and it was fulfilled. Now, it sounds like not only did he interpret the dream for the baker, but I guess also the interpretation of the destruction and the negativity that would befall Israel and the Israelites if we don't do what we're supposed to do. 272. V'tachazeh, come and see. These two levels, these two um, levels of revelation of dreams, that each one saw and the other saw, right? The wine steward and the baker saw. Da chama kad salik. The butler, the wine steward, he saw the oh, 1 second. Da chama kad salik veka shali daga ila'a. So the butler, the wine steward, saw that the supernal level, the higher level, was in control, which is the level of Zerampin, and it illuminated the moon, which is the Nukva. So he saw a revelation of this high level shining upon the lower level, the sun shining on the moon, the Zerampin shining on Malchut, the light shining on the vessel. V'dachama, but the baker, the other one, saw dit chashach v'shalit ala chivyavisha. He saw that instead of the Malchut being illuminated by Zerampin, he saw that instead the Malchut, the Nukva, was darkened, and it was controlled by the evil serpent, the negative side. Therefore, when Joseph saw the dream, he interpreted the dream in a negative way. He understood the whole context of the dream and the place the person was coming from and the negativity of the negative side that was involved. And therefore he interpreted it in a negative way. And therefore everything that he interpreted, everything is dependent on the interpretation of the dream. And each of them saw on the two levels of the control of the Malchut, either the illumination, the shining light of Zerampin upon Malchut, which represents a revelation of light upon the vessel, or the negativity, the evil snake controlling the vessel, controlling the Malchut. One controls, there's the control of one, which is Zerampin, the control of the snake, which is negative. Now, I have many questions about this. I don't know if you do, but I mean, for me, a lot still is left unanswered in terms of this interpretation. I'm sure if we study it deeper, we'll get the answers. Like, why specifically the three? Why did the three of the bread baskets not, not represent a central column as well? Why, if Joseph heard the dream, couldn't he have? If it all goes according to the interpretation, couldn't he have given a positive interpretation to kind of nullify some of the negativity? That's what we do when we do a dream cancellation. We always transform the dream. Maybe it could be because he knew he had to tell the truth. He knew that it was negative, and he couldn't, like he said, it all comes from the Creator. He couldn't have gotten in the way of the interpretation. I'm not sure, but this is where the Zohar kind of ends with that. So now we're going to go to the final chapter, chapter 25 of Vayeshev, which is incredibly exciting. And the chapter is titled, Create in Me a Clean Heart, Elokim. A very famous verse, as we'll see. Paragraph 273, Rabbi Yehuda opens and says, Lev tahor berali Elohim, veruach nachon chadesh bekirbi. As King David says in Psalm 51, verse 12, fashion a pure heart for me, O God, veruach nachon chadesh bekirbi, and create within me a renewed spirit, or a steadfast spirit. This is one of the most important verses that help us connect to the purity of our soul and the desire that we have to be pure. So as the Zohar will explain now what this means. And this is all has to do with Joseph and his ability to interpret the dreams. He came from this place. We've studied this verse. What does a pure heart mean? A clean or a pure heart mean? It says, it's similar, as the Zohar says, to when King Solomon asked for the Creator. He asked, give your servant, give me a heart, an understanding heart, a heart that listens, a heart that is able to, because he wanted lishpot et hamacha lehavin bein tov lara, to judge your people, to distinguish between good and bad. Ki mi yuchal lishpot et hamacha hachaved hazeh. Who can judge this vast people? King Solomon said, if I don't have a pure heart, if I don't have the heart that can distinguish between good and evil, if I don't have the heart that is able to be connected to the light, that is pure. Uchtiv v'tov lev mishtet tamid. And that's why it says in Proverbs that the kol yemei aniim ra'im, all the days of a poor person are bad, are wretched. Poor does not just mean physically, monetarily poor. It means those who have poverty of their consciousness. Doesn't matter how much money you have. If your consciousness is pure, you're going to be miserable. However, v'tov lev mishtet tamid. But contentment is a feast without end. When you have appreciation, when you are whole, no matter how much or little you have, you will be forever content. You will be forever, as it says, feast without end. You will always experience endless blessings. And therefore, it says, Lev tahov adai. Surely it says, create a pure, that's why it says, Lev tahov, a pure spirit, a pure heart. Then continuing, paragraph 274. What does it mean to renew a steadfast spirit within me? Surely this represents the correct spirit. What is this steadfast spirit? As it says, as it says during creation, that the spirit of the Creator was hovering over the water. Right, this is verse 2 of Genesis, right? So it's right in the beginning of creation. The Creator's spirit was hovering over the water. So what is the spirit we're talking about? Ve'itaru, where it's being said or mentioned, Zeh rucho Mashiach. This represents the spirit of Mashiach, the spirit of the end of the correction, the spirit of perfection. Ve'itaru v'roch hadasha eten b'kebechem, as it says in Ezekiel. This is such a beautiful verse. V'natati lachem lev chadash. The Creator says, I will give you a new heart. And I will put a new spirit within you. And I will remove the heart of stone from within you. The heart of stone, again, represents the final level of the 32 sparks of the 320. Only the Creator can remove that harshness, that negativity, the light from the negativity. And I will give you a heart of flesh. So what is this spirit, new renewed spirit given to us? That represents the soul, the spirit of Mashiach. V'tzali David, and King David prayed, Hahu ruach nachon, he prayed for that renewed spirit, chadesh b'kirbi. He prayed for that renewed spirit to be revealed within him, the spirit of Mashiach to be revealed within him. And that's why King David became the lineage. He is the lineage of Mashiach. He prayed for that spirit of Mashiach to come through him, and that's who he becomes the source, the seed of the Messiah, of the soul of the end of the correction. We'll continue tomorrow with paragraph 275, speaking more about this pure, renewed heart, this spirit of Mashiach that is revealed to us. And we're going to go into some stories about Elijah the prophet and other prophets, other kings at the time. And we'll prepare for the final study, which will be on Friday. Thank you all for joining. Lots of love to everyone. And because we're reading about this pure spirit and pure heart, hopefully that is revealed to us, and we can start our day with this purity of the heart, for the Creator to come and help reveal to us through the study of the Zohar, through our work today, this purity of the heart, to be able, especially today in the counting of the Omer, the 13th day of the Omer, Yesod of Gvura. The Gvura represents the desire to receive. So we want to, this entire week is all correcting how, right, just like the tree of knowledge, it was a desire to receive that was used selfishly. The idea of Gvura is to transform our desire to receive for the sake of sharing. So with this pure heart, that's what it means when we use our heart in that way. We use our desire in that way, because our heart is related to desire. Lots of love to everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and on Friday for the final study of Vayeshev. Thank you.